Clifton Powell, man. Happy to have you on the platform, my guy.
I'm glad to be here, Art. It's been a long day, but I'm here.
What you been up to, man? I know before the interview you was telling me about man, you lost 10 million in your divorce, bro.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I did a seminar yesterday, a group for one of my dear friends. Her name is Tressa, out of DC. She's a producer. So we were talking to the producing groups and the writers and trying to give them the ins and outs of the business. And one of the things that I try to do is when I do lectures, I have one slated hopefully to do it in Norfolk State, and I want to take it around to the HBCUs, Evening with Clifton Powell. And what I want to talk about is all the things that nobody helped me understand when I started in the business. So one of the panelists asked me, "What's the biggest mistake I made?" I think the biggest mistake I made in the beginning was getting married. Not so much because marriage is bad, but trying to build my career inside of my marriage. It's simply impossible. The divorce rate in Hollywood is almost 97% amongst entertainers. So, and not that I wouldn't have married my ex-wife or not have my kids. The best thing that came out of that were my kids. But I just, being an entertainer, and I'll give you an example. In 1979, myself, Denzel Washington, Sam Jackson, Angela Bassett, we were all poor actors who were just entering into a very difficult business. And nobody ever told me and taught me anything about Hollywood or how to be an entertainer or be in the entertainment business. It's a little different when you're in New York and you don't necessarily make it to the big national level. But when you leave New York, like we all did, only left New York, not necessarily come out to Hollywood to be famous actors. We were in love with the work, but you don't make a lot of money. So when you come out to Hollywood, the next thing you know, you do rock. And then from rock, you do Minister Society. And then from Minister, you do Dead Presidents. And then I went on a 35-year run, where I did Rush Hour, Next Friday, Phantoms, Deep Rising, and all the movies that people have Ray, and all the movies that people have seen me in. And inside of that has its own, the trajectory in the arts has its own isolated energy. And it takes all of your time and all of your energy. Barely have enough time for your wife and your kids. And I didn't understand that. And so when I was married at the height of my career, making a lot of money, I was out of my house maybe 80% of the time. And no marriage can survive if you're not giving it attention. And then there's all the other temptations on the road, the women, the gambling, the drinking, the partying. And before you know it, you're in divorce court. And that's really what happened. I survived it, because money is amazing. But if you're not happy, money is not good. So I don't blame my ex-wife. I don't blame anyone. I just, with my journey, trying to help young entertainers understand, build your career first and then focus on marriage and children and things like that. And I had an outside life, and I'll tell, and again, I told the panel yesterday, I have a movie that I'm developing about relationships. And one of the things that I like to talk to women about and men is that men have a hormone. And of course, I didn't understand this before I got married. Men have a hormone inside of their brain called dopamine. It controls the pleasure center it's in the pleasure center of your brain. And that's drugs, sex, gambling, smoking, partying, and rock and roll. And I did all of that. I didn't do drugs. That's the only reason I'm sitting here right now. But I partied, I gambled, I had a lot of women, and I was never home. And it's very difficult because women have a hormone in their brain called oxytocin, which is the cuddle hormone. So intimacy is personal for women. It's emotional. It's not personal for men unless you fall in love with someone. And I didn't understand any of that. So one of the things that I want to do with my lecture or the evening with Clifton Powell is break all that down for young entertainers, because back in my day, nobody guides you through. There are no mentors to call because now we're all competition. So that's, how I take my spin on it. I got two beautiful children out of it, and I love my babies, and I wouldn't trade it, but I wouldn't do it the same way.
Wow. Let me ask you this. You'll be the perfect person to ask this. Do you think the financial side of divorce is fair for both parties?
Ah, that's really a great question. Um, that's a very difficult question because I think the way the law is written, depending on what state you're married in, it's 50-50. And LA is 50-50. So when you go into marriage, you're basically entering into a business situation. And everybody has to uphold their part. So it's fair in the sense that if my ex-wife was the breadwinner, she would have had to give me alimony. If she kept the kids, then she has to give me alimony and not child support. If I get the kids, she has to pay me child support if she's the breadwinner. If I'm the breadwinner and I get the kids, then, I have to pay her alimony because I have the kids and there's no child support because they're with me. So it's fair. I mean, I know females, I have a couple of female friends who are paying child support and alimony. So I think you have to understand that marriage is on top of the love, it's a contract. And if you don't uphold your end of the bargain, then you're going to get a problem. You're going to have a money problem if you don't have it. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, in a sense, because a lot of people say that it's unfair to the men. So, I don't know.
Well, I gotta say this. I'm a little different. If you make a baby, you gotta take care of your baby for 21 years at least. So if you want to stop making babies, then put your condom on. That's as simple as that. My ex-wife didn't make me marry her. I come out of a traditional Christian kind of background, and I felt like that was the right thing to do. I didn't understand the business part of it, but I wasn't a good husband. I can sit here and tell you I wasn't a good husband. Men are not monogamous. Women will never want to believe that, not because we want to be, but because we have dopamine in our brain. And then when you put entertainer on top of it, popular, famous, however you want to consider me, it comes with a lot of outside attention, especially from women. So I would sit here and say, I wasn't a great husband. If I could do it again, if and when I marry Marquita, I'm going to be focused. I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be disciplined. And I've learned how to handle all the outside distractions. So if the woman is the breadwinner, she's going to end up paying. If the man is the breadwinner, he has to pay. It's the way it goes. There's nothing if you're the breadwinner, you can hide money if you want. But when you get inside of a divorce proceeding, you are under a guideline. So if you try to move money or hide money, you can get locked up for that. So if you get married tomorrow and your wife makes 300,000 and you make $1 million, then take 500,000 and give it to your mother or put it in an account that the federal government can't touch. And then you go into your proceedings, but then you got to open your books when you go into your proceedings. But it's ways to get around that. I can't talk about this on the podcast. If you got a great friend, you can say, listen, bro, or you got a, older son, you say, hey, hold this 5,000 or 500,000. But once you are inside of that divorce proceeding or injunction, so to speak, then if you start moving money around, you can get in trouble for that. Trust me, I thought about all of it.
Have you ever turned down a role that could have boosted your career, but you turned it down because it went against what you believe in?
Judging from my resume, I haven't turned down much. The thing that I want people to understand is a lot of the smaller movies that you see me in probably was a friend of mine or a producer who hired me when I had no money, or they come highly recommended. I've been offered some different types of roles that I didn't take. I did a TV series where they wanted me to play the neighborhood coon, and I walked off of that. But most of the time when I read a script, if I like it, I do it. I don't let when you get to a certain level, when you get to my level and above, your agents kind of tell you what to do. And I don't let anybody tell me what to do. I've worked my ass off and I do what I want to do. Sometimes, like say for instance, I'm going to speak on this movie because I caught a lot of flack for doing this movie, women that are loosed. Now, how I got that role, and please, everybody that's listening, understand, I never read that script. Reuben Cannon, who put me in Selma, Lord Selma, he put me in Buffalo Soldiers, and he put me in Why Do Fools Fall in Love. He called me on a Thursday and said, hey, Cliff, I need you tomorrow for this role. My main actor dropped out. I need you. And I came in because that's one of my partners. And he hired me when I had nothing. He saw the talent. And so when I read the script, when I got to the set, and when I read the part about the little girl, I made them restructure that. I said, I don't think it's necessary for me to have to touch that little girl. Let's just close the door and we hear, maybe her scream or something. I'm not doing that. Now, on the flip side, I wouldn't have taken that role if I read the script, because I have a daughter and I know how that is perceived. But after we did the movie, we went around to a lot of places and had panel discussions to help women who have been physically, mentally, and spiritually abused. So something good came out of that, but that's not a role I would have picked for myself.
So they wanted you to play a neighborhood coon. Tell me more about that.
It was a TV series. It's a TV series called Simon on the WB. I think it was the WB network. I can't remember. But the week before the show came out, they were scanning all the new shows. And in the Ebony Junior magazine, they said Clifton Powell starring as the neighborhood coon in a new TV show called Simon. And so when I got there and they wanted me to do some coonish type things, I said I wasn't going to do it. So I met with the big white guy who ran the show and had about 7 shows on. And he basically said, I bet you will do this. He said, I bet you would do this movie if it was a William Friedkin film. Now, if anybody want to know who William Friedkin is, he directed The Exorcist. So basically he said, I bet you would do this role if it was a William Friedkin movie. I said, I bet you I wouldn't. And I think I was fired before I even left my seat. But they still had to pay me $70,000 for the 7 episodes. But I would have never taken that role for myself.
I know when I interviewed Fredro Starr, he told me that he turned down the role in The Wire because they wanted him to kiss a man.
I got a audition maybe a year ago for Mr. Black. I don't think he read the script. So I read the script and I called him. I said, this guy, that's the gangster, he has this guy named Raphael or somebody hanging around the bar all the time. I said, who is that guy? So he called casting and he said, well, they kind of like lovers. I'm like, that's not going to work out. I'm not homophobic. I've gotten a lot of flack for saying something in the heat of the moment. I'm not homophobic, but I have no problems with transgender people or gay people. I don't care what color they are. I have no problems with, I'm not sexist or racist or any of that. But I have boundaries for me as a person, which makes me uncomfortable or comfortable that I just don't cross. And it's not militant. It's just that certain things I'm just not comfortable with. I'm a heterosexual man. I'm not comfortable with kissing a man, whether I got to do it for a role. And I commend actors who can handle that inside of their psyche. I'm not wired that way. And that's just me. And I know that, like I played a few roles where, like Sybil Brand, where I had to kind of be brutal with women. I would never take one of those roles again. And I enjoyed that movie, but that guy was brutal, but that's not something I would seek out for myself now.
I mean, you've been doing movies for decades. I mean, why would they offer you something like that at this point in your career?
I don't think they think, well, this guy was the guy was a gangster. So after you see me play Cuddy, I became like the #1 go-to gangster guy in Hollywood, but there's certain boundaries that I have, I've never seen a gay gangster, but I'm sure they have been. There was a guy out of DC named Wayne Perry who was bisexual. He was a gangster, biggest killer in DC. I just read about him. I wouldn't play him because there's a scene where one guy walks in and sees him having sex with a man, and I'm not doing that. But they may come and say, man, but we needed a guy that's rough and tough and can play those rough and tough roles. I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's just me, So I don't necessarily, when I read something I don't like it, I don't give it a second thought. Just say I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I heard about that, man. I seen an interview with Sean Branch where, he told a story about how he walked in on Wayne Perry with a man. So yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, yeah. But he was one of the biggest killers in DC. It don't line up for me, but You know, I can't. I don't get into people's sexual life. Like I don't have a problem with people announcing that they come out. I think your personal, intimate sexual life is your personal business. It's like most people don't know my story because I haven't told my story. Some of it is not for the public. I put it in my book, and when you write a book, you can edit what you want to go in and what you don't want to go in. But you never, even if I was gay, I wouldn't come out and just say, "Hey, hi, I'm Clifton," and just want to come out. That's your personal business. That's what I think. And whatever people think about that, I don't really care. I think your personal, intimate, sexual life is your personal business, not to be broadcast to the world.
Well, let me ask you this since we're on the topic. How you feel about actors and comedians who wear dresses and play female roles?
Um, you know, when you deal with comedians, you're dealing with guys that spoof stuff all the time. I've done spoofs. Like somebody saying, "Well, you was in the breaks. You had riding on the back of the scooter with my shirt tied up in a little like pedal pusher bond tied around my belly." It's a spoof. It was a spoof. I didn't kiss nobody. I was making fun. Like, don't be a menace while drinking juice in the hood. It's a spoof. Some people don't know the difference between reality and a spoof. It was a spoof. So some of those guys just do that just as a spoof. You know, now I done a couple of times. I did a play where I imitated Diana Ross. I imitate people, but it's not something I want to do a role on a TV series. It was a spoof. And there's a difference between comedy and doing a spoof as opposed to playing a character where you're in a dress all day long, every day, and that's your character. I don't knock that. I think everybody has to make personal choices. And I think as a watching public, a lot of people don't understand what it's like to be in the entertainment business. It is really bizarre. And you have to make choices that are not always popular. But I'll do a spoof. I'm not sure I'd do a spoof now because the climate is just so crazy. But I've done a few spoofs. I think, and I think if a guy wants to wear a dress, if that's what he wants to do, I think, like you've seen Jamie Foxx play Shanae. Was it Martin that played Shanae? Jamie played the other lady. Yeah, it was Martin. I mean, that was a personal choice, and it's a comic. It's a comic stuff. So I think you get a little bit of a pass when you're a comic, or you do spoofs like I do, because I do drama and comedy, and I intersperse them.
Do you think Hollywood is trying to feminize black actors?
Um, bro, you've been doing too much damn research. Um, I personally think we got to be mindful of the images and sexual, trying to turn men more, less masculine. But we're in a different time now, bro. We're not in the time when I grew up when men were men. You shook hands, you ain't hug nobody and all that old nonsense. But I'm not gonna comment on that because that's something I think it's just a personal choice, man. I don't believe anybody can make anybody do that. I think you got to make a personal choice. And I get when it's a spoof, but I think I don't know if it's a concerted effort. But we're in different times now. We in real different times now. So everything's a lot more fluid. And some people just go with the flow. I'm just a little different. I'm more traditional and conservative. But some people just go with the flow and say that's just part of my work, and I get it. I don't think Hollywood has a concerted effort to be any certain way. It's just a machine, and we got to keep fighting against the stuff that's not fair. But I made a lot of money in Hollywood. I am not here to bash Hollywood. Hollywood is just a microcosm of the regular world, and it's good and bad, But I'm not here to bash Hollywood. I think you got to know. Like when I do lectures, I tell my students, know what you're going to do. Know what you're going to do. Know where you are mentally, spiritually. Know where you are when it comes to your wellness. Know where you are when it comes to your sexuality. And you make a personal choice. Nobody holds a gun to anybody's head to make them do anything. Maybe there's some coercion. Maybe there's some grooming. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you got to make a personal choice. And a lot of times people make choices because they broke or they want to be famous or they have big egos and they like want to tell their family they made it. But they don't say how they did it. It's a lot of different factors. So I don't think it's a concerted effort on Hollywood. At least that's my personal opinion.
Do you believe in a casting couch?
I don't believe in the casting couch. I don't. I don't. I don't believe in it. I. I don't listen. There are a lot of beautiful women in this business, and a lot of beautiful men, black, white, Latino, Asian. A lot of beautiful women. Whatever your preference is, I don't really care. But I don't think you can block people. I think the problem with the casting couch is that if you don't do it, you ain't gonna do the role. I think that's really horrible to put on someone. Like come in my office and have sex with me, and then I'll give you the role. If you come in casting and you get the role on your own merit, and you run into me at a restaurant and you want to go out, and if I'm not married or if I'm whatever and I'm available, I think that can work. That works all the time in this business. But for me to say to you as a beautiful female, if you don't have sex with me on this couch right here, you ain't getting the role. And I think that's wrong. And I'm gonna always say it's wrong. I know I'm gonna get a lot of feedback out there, but I'm just telling you the truth. Anybody that blocks you from something to try to force you into making a decision because you need money or you want to be famous, I just think that's wrong. I have a term for it, but I can't say it on here. But it's just not good to me. I've had females come at me sideways as producers. It's a weird business. It's a lot of beautiful people. People get attracted to your look. Some people get attracted because they like dark-skinned guys. Some people like older guys. Some people like guys and girls have hit on me. Some people like you because you're powerful or you give powerful performances. This ain't real, man. This is acting, And at the end of the day, I'm an actor. When I go home, I leave the character at work. So anybody that tries to groom, anybody that tries to persuade, I think that's wrong, and I think it's got to continually be stopped, no matter who does it.
What you mean by the producers came at you sideways?
I've had producers say certain things or do certain things, male and female, but I know how to handle it because I know what I'm going to do. I always tell people when you get to Hollywood, know what you're going to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm not desperate to be famous. I think people don't know I wanted to play football. I never wanted to be an actor. I have no idea how I got into it. I mean, I know how I got into it, but I don't know why the gods picked it for me. But I'm not, in my early years, you can't give me $1 million to make me do something sexual. I'll just go get a damn job. I've turned down jobs because they didn't want to pay my quote. So, and my manager before, Chris, would say, you got to do it. I said, I got a degree. I'll go get a damn job. So you can't persuade me with fame or money. I think when you are desperate to be successful, you may cut some corners. But when I do my lectures, I say, do the work. And at some point, the work will get you through. You may not make it to the top, but the middle is a great place to be inside of an entertainment division like I'm in the middle, and I make a lot of money and I do well and I have a great life. And I didn't compromise anything.
So in a sense, the casting couch is real then. Because I mean, if you're saying that producers they came at you sideways, hypothetically speaking, if you would have took them up on the offer, I'm sure you would have got better opportunities, right?
Well, let me tell you this. A guy came to me maybe about 3 years ago. He said, Mr. Powell, I love your work. He said, I'm going to tell you right now, you'd be a lot bigger if you were bisexual. And I said, well, I've gotten as big as I have. But I want to also be clear. I'm not knocking anyone, actors or producers. But I just think from a humanitarian standpoint, whenever you block someone, I think that's wrong. Whether it's race or gender or because you don't like the way their hair looks, that's just wrong. Like to me, racism is just wrong because you're too black. You can't do this. I've been told I was too black for shows. It's a lot of stuff that I've been through that I'm going to put in my book. So I just think that's wrong. And I'm always going to say it's wrong. And I'm always stand up for what I believe is right. That's just me. I've been set up. I've never been arrested, never been in trouble. You can't set me up because I don't break the law. But I've been set up. I've been approached. I've been, how I don't want to say persuaded, but gestures have been made, And I'm not gonna get into the details and name any names, but it's been men and women, not a lot, but a few, you know. And my problem, like I said in the beginning, is that if a beautiful woman comes in and likes and she auditions for you and she does a great job, she should be in the running to get the job. If you say, hey, well, you're in the running, but you gotta sleep with me to get the job, and if you block her, I think it's wrong to me. That's just me. If she says, hey, you know what? I want to do it, then I would take it outside of the business. It's just weird. I taught acting classes. I've taught acting one-on-one students who one girl came out with her biker shorts and her, sitting in Indian style. I'm like, ma'am, are we coaching or what are you doing? Because I don't mix the two. I always tell my students, don't shit where you eat. That's an old term expression. Don't put your dirty business on your job. It's not good business. Sometimes it's too close for comfort, even when it's consensual. But in my 46-year career, I don't mix my personal life with my business life, and I don't mix the two. And when I was on a panel yesterday, I told some of the young producers, don't do that. Because in this business, people keep score and they don't tell you.
And speaking of that, right, I want to backtrack to your comments about skin tone. I heard that she was up for a big role in a big TV movie, but you didn't get the role because of your skin tone? The Rudy Bridges story?
Well, basically what happened was the producers told the director, whose name was Usman Palsy, that I was so dark that it looked like I would scare everyone. So they wouldn't hire me. And that's what happened on that. I haven't spoken on it, but I'm going to put it in my book. And basically that's what happened. So her, who's African and French, and the white producer, whose name I can't remember, said, Mr. Powell, you are our first choice. If you don't get this role, it's not because we didn't fight for you. But that's happened to me on a McDonald's commercial. One of my friends was the producer and the agency, and the agency thought I was just too dark. You got to understand, I tell people, like I told my panel last night, there was an article years ago, I'm not sure if it was in Esquire magazine, that talked about Black Hollywood, white Hollywood. And there's an article in there by Wesley Snipes, white agent from CAA, that sent Wesley in for a role. And this is documented. And they called him and said, don't send anybody darker than Denzel. Racism permeates, and it's not the same anymore, because we've seen, really dark-skinned actresses and dark-skinned actors. But you got to understand, if Obama was my complexion, he wouldn't have been president. You know what I'm saying? I still get followed around stores. I mean, I ride first class. I was in first class one time and this guy kicked my seat. And I stood up and I said, would you have kicked my seat if I was a white boy? Because there's all kinds of different people in the world that like, what is this doing flying first class with us up here? I'm like, I make more money than all of y'all in first class. So you got to understand, still people like that in the world. It's people like that in this business. I did a TV series, which I am not going to say, but some of the Teamsters were Klan members. This is real. It's real. I don't take any shit from anybody that's racist, sexist, or anything, period. And I can tell you a billion stories, and I'm never going to take it. Period. I encountered some racism on New York Undercover. And the sound man, he was trying to put the mic in my hair. I had a scarf. I was playing this little thug guy. And I had my a head wrap, like Tupac used to wear. And I told the sound guy, I said, sir, I don't want to run the wire up in my hair because I'm going to be rolling on the ground. Maybe I was being a little overprotective, but I could choke. Freak accidents happen in this business all the time. There was a girl, let me tell you this story, on Vampire in Brooklyn, black stunt lady jumping off a building. Her first jump was successful. Her family was there. The second jump, somebody adjusted the mat. Go look this story up. She jumped, hit the mat, and bounced into the wall and died instantly. Yeah. So as I was talking to the sound man, now on a lot of the African-American shows back in the day, all the writers, producers were white. You may have one or two black folks there. I don't deal with racism very well because I grew up in Washington, D.C., and I grew up with good white folks and a million black people. So it's one of my triggers. So I told the sound guy, I said, I don't want to put the wire in my hair. So he turned to me and looked me in my eye. He said, I tell you what then, why don't you do your sound in post? You know what that means?
No, I don't. No, sir.
What that means is, why don't you do the show while you're here this week, and then you let them fly you back in and then put your sound in. I said, no problem. So I called the first AD and I said, I think your sound man is a racist. He said, well, what happened, Mr. Powell? I said, well, I was telling him I wanted to put the mic either on my leg or behind my back and put the wire up in my shirt somewhere. And he told me to do mine in post. So he said, don't worry, I'll talk to him, Mr. Powell. So I assumed that he talked to him. I got back after lunch. I had to go to sound, same sound guy. I said, sir, like I said before, I don't want to put the wire in my hair. And then he said, what did I tell you? He might have said, boy. He said, boy, what did I tell you before? And I stepped back and I said, let me tell you something, bro. I will knock the out of you on this set. And any one of you white boys got a problem with me, I'll fight every one of you motherfuckers. Period. And I went to my trailer and I called my manager and I said, I'm leaving. She said, what's the problem? And I said, what the problem? She said, well, Cliff, you're in New York. I said, I don't give a where I am. So the producer called me. He said, what is the problem? I said, this is the problem. Your sound man is a racist. He told me to do my sound in post. I said, so this is what I'm prepared to do. I'm prepared to give you back your hotel money, your flight money, and I'm flying out as soon as I get out of my trailer. He says, Mr. Powell, give me a minute and we'll get you right, because I had the wrong trailer. They put me in a honey wagon. SAG regulates this. So I'm supposed to get everything I'm supposed to get as per SAG. The next day I had a brand new trailer and nobody in the crew talked to me. I did my week and I left. Dr. King said, a man can't ride your back unless it's bent. Period. And that's how I approach this business. I try to be amiable. I try to be cool. But I'm also a young man that has worked his ass off to get everything I have. I try to be pleasant. I don't believe in any of the isms, but you're not going to punk me. It's never going to happen. I will die first. And that's just how I feel. And if people are listening, please try to understand. It's a lot of sexism in this business. It's still a lot of racism, much better than it was. And I'm not going to bash Hollywood, because Hollywood is a microcosm of what's going on in the world right now. I'm just not that guy. And I'm never going to be that guy. And so I've lost work because of it. I've been fired because of it. I've walked off of sets because of it. And that's just the way it's going to be. And that's how I operate. And I'm not bragging. I'm not boasting. I just try to come to work and do my job. Period. I had a McDonald's commercial. There's two black. Simon, the guy wanted me to be a coon. It's the same. Being a coon and being blocked is the same thing to me. You know, when they fire you, because it's not like I sat down and tried to talk to this guy about Harlem. He never heard of Harlem, really. I said, do you know you want me to make fun of Harlem, which historically is one of the most exclusive African-American enclaves in the world, where black entertainers couldn't go downtown, so they had to stay in Harlem. Central Avenue in Los Angeles, you have the black hotels. The black entertainers couldn't go to the white places, so they had to stay in Central Avenue. And then they came in and tore Central Avenue apart. You know, I'm not going to make fun of Harlem. Harlem may not look like the Harlem of yesteryear, but Harlem has a lot of historical references and history. And then I did the Langston Hughes poem. I said, have you dug the spill of Sugar Hill? Cast your gems on the sepia thrill. Brown sugar lassie, caramel treat, honey gold baby. That's Langston Hughes talking about Harlem. And you want me as a woke black man to come on your show and make fun of Harlem? I'm not doing that. And I walked off. You know, so, you know, I'm sure I've lost other jobs because they thought I might have been too strong or too masculine. I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time analyzing. I just know what I'm going to do. And I don't want to come across like I'm a gangster or a thug. I'm just a real man who stands up for his rights. That's what I am. And I'm always going to be that way. Debbie Allen was my dance teacher in high school. You ever work with Debbie? She's tough and very, very fair and very, very African-American. And her best friend, Glenda Dickerson, was my mentor in high school. And they were warriors, used to march in the streets. And I grew up in that. And it ain't color, because my grandkids look like this brother right here. My white buddy right here. What's your name again? Blake look like my grandkids. And so I don't play no isms. I've been on sets where girls have hit on the other girls. I'm like, not on my set, boo boo. We're not doing that. We come here to work. Take all that shit outside after work. I don't do it. And that's why we have the new place and things in place. They have sex coordinators on the set now. They had intimacy, not sex, intimacy coordinators on the sets. They have what's the act that they passed about, producers crossing the line, like Harvey Weinstein. That's why that came into being. It's always been happening since the inception of Hollywood. It's time for it to be stopped on every level. Racism, sexism, and all of that bullying and grooming needs to be stopped, and let people do their work. And anybody that don't like it, I don't really care. I'm telling you what I think the truth is. Do your history on the history of Hollywood. Do your history. And you'll understand. It still happens. The Me Too movement is a positive movement. Women shouldn't have to come to work and worry about a producer trying to sexualize them. Should never happen. No man or woman. No child. We see what's happening with what's going on with pedophilia in this country. It's unacceptable. You can't hurt anyone and force or coerce people or demand or block. You can't do it. It's wrong. Never going to happen on one of my sets. I'm building a movie platform. It's never going to happen on my set. And I don't care if it's one of my family friends, if it's my friend, get off my set. I'm not having it. It's like getting shot at church. You should never have to go to church like this guy just shot up the damn Sunday school. That should never happen. Go to church to worship, and you got to worry about somebody. You shouldn't have to worry about going to school and getting shot. Doesn't happen in Canada. They outlaw guns in Canada. We are way behind the times, bro. But that's another story. But I was raised this way, and I grew up in the 60s. I grew up in the civil rights movement, and I was raised by a strong sister who was like my mother, and she didn't play any disrespect, made you continue to be humble and be thankful for your blessings. But I also had teachers who were revolutionaries. And I don't think there's anything revolutionary about being fair to people. But let me be clear. Let me be clear. I don't have a problem with a producer being attracted to dark skin or a pretty girl, but don't mix it inside of your work and then block her if she don't do what you say, or block him if he don't do what you say. So I don't want to sound like a robot here where I say, oh, I guess you never seen a pretty girl you want to sleep with, Mr. Powell. Of course, I've seen him on the set, off the set. But I can tell you in my 46 years, I can count on one finger anybody I've ever been intimate with on any set. And it never happened on those sets. I take it after the movie is over, we might go out and have drinks and dinner and then talk like adults. But you can't hurt kids. You can't intimidate people. You can't coerce people. There's no place for that in the workplace. So on that topic, I think people understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I want to get into some of your work, man. You've been in so many classics. Dead Presidents. How did that come about? You getting a role in that?
Man, that's a great story. The Hughes brothers had somebody else in mind, and I went in to read for Cowboy and Spider and one other character, and they wasn't, they said, okay, thank you. And I just done Menace with them, and I begged them to read Cuddy, and they were like, Cliff, man, we got a star name in mind for Cuddy. But what I did, and what I tell young actors, is preparation meets opportunity. So I stayed up all night and memorized Cuddy just like the way you saw it. So finally, after me wearing them down for like 25 minutes, they said, okay, Cliff, well, go ahead and read. So I had one suit, I had a Dob hat, I had a eye patch for Spider, I had a cowboy hat for Cowboy, and then I bought this Dob hat. I had a lot of money. I spent my last $8 and bought a Dob hat at Aardvark right on Melrose. And I had this wool suit, and I was sweating like a pig, like a runaway slave. But I went in the bathroom, put my Dob hat, got myself together, and did Cuddy just like you saw it. And when I finished, they said, damn, okay, You're gonna be cut in. We're gonna figure this shit out. That's how I got Dead Presidents.
Did you think it would turn out to be the classic it became?
No, I didn't think Menace or Dead Presidents. I thought they would be good movies, but I didn't think they would become cult classics. And I'm just honored to be a part of it. And I am forever grateful to Jamie Foxx, to the Hughes brothers for allowing me to be in Menace and Dead Presidents and Ray. And I also want to give honor to my friend, Mr. Charles Dutton, who cast me in Rock, which was a classic role. So I'm just very grateful, Oz Scott, who's casting me in a lot of stuff. My friend Rose Catherine Pinkney, who's always had projects and considered me, like in Sacrifice. So I have a lot of wonderful people who have brought me on. The brothers, I didn't get cast in The Brothers until they made me meet the head of the studio, because they just didn't think I was the guy. And the writer, give honor to Gary Hartwick, said, no, Cliff Powell is the guy I want, and they're saying, I called Gary, said, I got to audition another 1,000 people. He said, I'm not going to like anybody. And I'm going to call you back next week, and you're going to go meet Clint Culpepper, who I'll give honor to, who hired me in The Brothers.
And that was another good movie. And I heard that you was pretty much broke when you auditioned for Dead Presidents, right?
I don't know if there's a word, I don't know if there's a term called pretty much broke. I think you either broke or you just got money. No, I was broke. I brokey broke. But it was sometimes it's not about the money, man. Next Friday is another classic that, I didn't have a lot of money when I did, but and they don't pay a lot of money, but if you string about 20 of them along and you get the residuals, I get a lot more money from my residuals now. So it's all a blessing, man. And if I tell young actors, be prepared, as preparation meets opportunity. When I went in and a lot of people haven't seen this, so if you have nephews or nieces that are like 5 to 15, show them this movie called Selma, Lord Selma, where I played Martin Luther King. They didn't want me for King. They had a star name in mind. And I begged the producer, I begged Reuben Cannon to let me go read. He says, Cliff, they have a star name. And so finally, after about 25 minutes, Reuben came back and he said, they said they'll see you. And so I walked in, they said, you have anything prepared? I said, yeah, I have Dr. King's last speech. They said, okay, all right. So I said, no, it doesn't matter what happens now. We've got some difficult days ahead. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life, So after I did that, they said, you know what? You're going to be king and we're going to work it out. Now, the reason I did that little clip is because I want young entertainers to understand that's just voice work. I took 4 years of speech classes, dialects, phonetics, but I also stayed up all night long and watched Eyes on the Prize. And I got a suit like Dr. King. I cut my mustache like Dr. King. And I went in and embodied the voice and the spirit of Dr. King. That's how I came from the back to the front. And it's preparation meets opportunity. So for all young actors, just do your work. Train properly. I train in the Stanislavski system. That's what that is.
And I got to ask you, next Friday, how did you get that role as Pinky?
Another interesting story. One of my partners, his name is Steve Ferrier, who's like my big brother mentor, who walked me through this business since I was in high school. So he was doing the behind the scenes of something Ice Cube, I think a music video. And somehow Ice Cube asked him, Ice Cube was talking about Dead Presidents, the scene on the steps. And he said, man, who was that guy that played Cutter? He said, you mean Cuddy? He said, yeah, who was the brother that played Cuddy? He was good. He said, oh, that's my buddy. His name is Clifton Powell. So when I came home, my ex-wife said, Mr. Ice called, Mr. Icy Hot Ice. I said, Ice Cube? She said, Mr. Ice Cube called for you. So I called the next day casting, and they wanted me to come in and read for Pinky, but they already had a white guy in mind for Pinky. But I got sick the day I was supposed to come in, I got the flu. So they put it off, and then I went in and met with Cube, and I was doing that scene in the record shop and it wasn't working. So after about me and Cube working together for like 40 minutes, I was just lost about what he wanted. So I said, a lot of times directors don't like to act it out for you. So I gave him the gun And he said, I blow your head smooth off. Now, I did a movie called The Breaks, which was, again, a spoof. And I did a scene where I start talking and I jump around, holding the gun, I start jumping around. So I took the gun from Cube and I say, I blow your head smooth off. Oh, and I start turning, say it again. And he said, whoa, 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 what did you just do? I said, I don't know. He said, do what you just did. And that's how we created that physical, the words were already there, but we created that physicalness of Pinky, of him saying it, jumping around, spinning around. All of that comes out of my improv work, but I borrowed it back from when I did it in The Breaks. So if you watch The Breaks, you'll see me point the gun. I'm gonna shoot you or you, and then he spins around with you, or I might shoot my damn self, you know? And it's with Ronaldo Ray and Darius McCrary. It's funny as hell. And that just jumped in my head when the Cube was, because we were stuck and he was just about to say, okay, well, this ain't gonna work out. And that's how we got Pinky.
So you ain't understand the character at first?
No, it was Ice Cube and I working together in a record shop. This was before I got on set and I wasn't getting it. And I asked Cube to take the gun and he did. He took the gun. He said, I blow your head smooth off. And then the whole stuff that I did in The Breaks jumped back. So I took the gun. I said, I blow your head smooth off. And I started jumping around and putting the physical to it. And then we locked it in and then we went and shot it. And then when I came back for Friday After Next, I just walked in. I said, Merry Christmas, everybody. He said, whoa, cut. He said, Cliff, you got to start jumping around, bro. I said, I got to jump around in the next one too. He said, yeah, man, that's Pinky. And that's how we got it. Hopefully Cube the next Friday. Y'all make sure Cube put Pinky in the next Friday he's doing. I ain't gonna ask for a whole lot of money, Chris. I mean, Cube, I'm gonna ask for a little bit, but not crazy money. Cube's my guy. Shout out to Cube and honor to Cube and putting me in next Friday. And it's been lovely. It's been wonderful. People love. I never thought Pinky would become a household name, but people don't even call me Cliff anymore. It's just, hey, Pinky.
How much you got paid for next Friday and Friday After Next?
I got paid okay. You know, you get paid better as you move up. So like I said, the next one, hopefully, you know, we get a bigger payday. But, you know, I would love to work with Cube again, you know, and Mike Epps and Money Mike and everybody.
You think Chris Tucker gonna be in the next Friday? Or do you think he's too big at this point?
No, I think everybody loves Friday. Be a great opportunity to bring all of us back together, do a memorial to Pops and some of the actors who have passed away, like Lil Ezel and my man Tiny Lister, you know. But I think we all want to be. If I could tell Chris, I'd say, come, let's do it, you know. So you know, we'll see what happens. It's gonna be up to Cube and his people.
So you believe it still can be a good movie with all the actors that passed away?
Oh yeah. Cube is brilliant, man. He's funny. And of course he's going to do a tribute. And it's a cult classic. I mean, man, I've seen white people love Indian. I was at the casino one time. This Indian guy, oh my God, you are Pinky. I said, excuse me? He said, you are Pinky. I said, yeah. He said, oh my God, no. I said, yes. And then I was in Mississippi and some rednecks were like, and it, who was that right there? I said, excuse me? He said, what's your name, man? I said, Clifton Powell. He said, no, man, that ain't your name. I said, yeah, it's Clifton Powell. He said, you Pinky. I said, okay. I'm some rednecks, dude. I'm talking about some real rednecks. I said, hey, man, that's Pinky right there. I love that movie, man. That movie transcends race, bro. I'm telling you. It's really funny. It's amazing. Redneck guy say, hey, man, that's Pinky right there. I know your name's Clifton Powell, but I'm going to call you Pinky. Not Pinky, Pinky. These are real stories, y'all. This really happened. I mean, he's all making that up. No, this is real stuff that's happened to me over the last 46 years. Been crazy.
And to go back to Ministry Society, how did you get that role?
Same audition. I was at a party with my main man, one of my partners, Alonzo Brown. He had seen me on Rock. And he was like, man, they got to see you because Tupac dropped out. And so he called the casting people and they had me come in the next day. And I read and they put me in it. I didn't know that was going to be such a big classic, you know. I rolled through the hood and found me a haircut and the rest is history, you know.
Speaking of Pac in real time, did you know about the fight he had with the Hughes brothers?
I heard, I didn't know about it in real time. I heard about it afterwards, you know. And I did the Cali Love video with Pac, California Love. He's What a cool cat, man. He's a cool cat, you know. A lot of people still don't know that's me in all black that says, "Can you dig it?" in California Love, you know. But everybody thinks that's George Clinton. That's me. And me and Pac and Chris Tucker had a great time on the set, along with Dr. Dre and everybody.
How did that come about? You being in that video?
I was at a club. I was in a club, and Dr. Dre asked me if I wanted to do a music video. I didn't know who was in it, and they sent me the money right over, and I ended up in it, and just had a great time, man. A lot of times, you know, people see me as the work that I've done is my relationships. Dre is friends with a lot of my friends, and he saw me in the club. He said, "Man, you just like I did the Usher video, Caught Up." You know, Usher. I never met Usher. Usher called casting. He's like, "I want Cliff Powell. Can we get him?" So a lot of times when cats that know your work, you don't even know they know your work. Like with Norbit, Eddie Murphy, they offered me a smaller role. I called my guy who knew Eddie. He said, "Man, Eddie loves your work." I was like, "Eddie Murphy loves my work?" He said, "Yeah, Eddie loves that pinky shit." And they put me in Norbit. You know, it's sometimes it happens like that. Depends on what level of power a person has. You know, Eddie Murphy's very powerful. So when Eddie said he was in it, I was in it. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, I had no idea that was you. I always thought that was George Clinton.
Yeah, that was me. They called me for Boondocks. And my man, Carl, that's the creator, one of the creators and writers, I said, "Bro, y'all ain't even got to pay me. I do Boondocks." So a lot of times people follow your work, man, and it's just a blessing, you know? You build up a following, you know?
Yeah, you killed the Boondocks. But I want to go back to the Cali Love video. Was that your only interaction with Pac or no?
That was no, you know, I saw Pac one last time before he passed away. I was going into George's on Melrose, and he was sitting in his Rolls Royce, and I just say, "What's up, big dog, young man?" I just said, "Be careful out here," and he's real, always very pleased. "I got you, OG." He gave me a lot of love, man. I'm not exactly sure if he knew who I was, but he was always so kind. You know, he was a really nice, funny guy, man. You know, it's just a lot of factors as to why he's not here right now. You know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you was dope as hell in Boondocks, man.
I told Carl, I said, "Y'all ain't gotta pay me, man. I love Boondocks." Man, you know, it was funny. You know, really funny stuff. Then I did what's the other one I did? Ah, I can't remember the other one Carl did right after Boondocks. It'll come to me. I've done so much. Then I did Big Smoke, San Andreas. My girl showed me that the other day. I didn't know how big that was. Black Dynamite. I did Black Dynamite. I was one of the voices of Black Dynamite too, you know. And then I did St. Andreas. I just saw a clip of that the other day. I didn't even know it was me. I did that so long ago, you know. Man, I can't remember. It's been like 20 years ago. I can't remember how I got that. I think I got a call through John Singleton or somebody. They said, "Well, John recommended you." I think that's what happened, you know. I went up for Shaft too. John was trying to get me for Shaft, but the studio wouldn't approve me. I had a meeting with John for to play Shaft, the last one that Sam did. Yeah,
Yeah, you was in House Party.
House Party. I got that. I met the Hughes brothers when I was working as a counselor, living in New York. And I came out to New York, came out to LA, and I went right to their office, and they put me in House Party. First piece I did in LA.
You was in the movie Ray too. You and Jamie, y'all had to fight for y'all role, right?
No, Jamie wasn't fighting to be in the movie. Jamie was already Ray. Jamie stood up in a meeting and said, "Hey, why is Cliff Powell not in the movie?" He said, "Well, I think he needs to get here, or ain't gonna be no movie." So I definitely give honor to Jamie Foxx stood up in the meeting and said, "Why haven't we hired Cliff Powell? He was amazing." I had an audition and I cried in the audition. And when I called my manager, they said they didn't think you should have cried and you didn't get it. And so my ex-wife at the time said, "You should call Jamie." And I never called people, but I called Jamie. I said, "Jamie, they thought I was too emotional." He said, "F that Cliff Powell, you're gonna be in this movie." And that's what happened. Jamie stood up and said, "I want Cliff Powell in this movie." And that's just a testament to how kind he is. He's amazing to work with and just an amazing person. And you see how much outpouring of love he got when he was going through his medical challenge. You know, people love Jamie. Jamie, and I did the Jamie Foxx show back in the day. You know, so Jamie is, and of course we are friends, but Jamie has been so supportive, you know, his whole camp. So nothing but love.
And I see you make a comment about how you and the director, y'all wasn't seeing eye to eye. What made you say that?
because it's the truth. He wasn't he was tough. He was tough on me, and sometimes directors just play with your brain a little bit, and I didn't know he was just trying to push me. But you don't have to push people like me. I'm trained. I'm coming to give 150 anyway, and so we had a chance to kind of at the end of the movie, which I never put in this before. I never said this. He sent me a nice card, and I think he sent me a gift with a card to say Clifton Powell, my go-to man. And it was always because a lot of those scenes he just threw me in and improv. But Taylor Hackford is a tough director, but we worked through it, and it taught me something about patience. But also, I think he came to respect how I move as a man. Because what happens, when you're a director, man, you like the boss, and it ain't color. I don't think it was racist. It's just directors have to be dictatorial and they have to be tough. And when you get Nick like me and Jamie and Lorenz Tate and Terrence Howard and Kerry Washington and who else was that at the top? I don't know why her name is escaping. You don't have to be tough on us. You don't have to be tough on us. We come ready to work. Regina King, who I was thinking of, me, Regina King, Bo Keem, Terrence Howard, Lorenz Tate. We come to work, man. Kerry Washington. You don't have to be Jamie Foxx. We come every day prepared, ready to work. You don't have to be tough on us. And Taylor Hackford was tough, but I think he realized and pulled back and got it at the end.
And he was cursing you out, right?
He never cursed me out. He never cursed me. Let's be clear. He never cursed me out, but he was tough on me. He was tough on everybody. He's tough on Jamie sometimes. But I think, it's just directors can be tough, man. And sometimes you got to know who you dealing with. Like I'm a real man at the end of the day. So you're not gonna go but so far, bro. I don't give a heck who I'm working with. I'm trying to watch my language. This is man's and woman, big people, big panties. I call them big panties and big boots. And you got to come with love and respect. And if you don't, you're gonna get some pushback. And I gave him some pushback. But I think he figured it out at the end. He gave me a card and said, the Cliff Powell, my go-to guy. And we were at the bar having a drink together. It's all good. If he works with me again, he'll know, I can't push this guy because I don't need to. He's there. So a lot of times directors play psychological games with people, That's what I think.
I heard that a wardrobe girl tried to allow you. What's the backstory behind that?
Are you reading this from somewhere? Or you heard about it?
No, I do my deep research. When I do an interview, I do deep research.
Yeah, you can't lie on me. I'm trying to figure out because nobody's ever asked me that. Because I'm saying you must be doing your research.
Oh, yeah. We do research over here, bro.
Well, what happens is it's always somebody that's going to try to lie on you. And first of all, I've never been arrested. I got a daughter. I don't groom women. I don't cross no lines unless it's consensual. I don't hurt people. I don't mix my personal business on sets. So when she said that, the other black girl said, don't lie on him like that. I don't know if it was a black girl or another white girl, but she said he ain't do none of that. Don't lie on him. So you can't do that to me. I'm not invincible, but I try to stay on the right side of right. And I haven't been perfect about anything in my life. But I know one thing, I don't hurt. I've tried my best not to hurt women. I don't coerce. I don't force. I stay on the right side of right.
What was she trying to accuse you of, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know. I think she said I came on to her or something. I'm a real man. I like beautiful women, but I don't come on to women. Most of the time they bring it to me. You know what I'm saying? Especially back in my day when my hair was all black and I was cut up like Morris Chestnut and chocolate. But there always it's people that just do weird shit to artists because they try to get money. A lot of times it's money or trying to ruin your career. Who knows? But nothing happened because the black girl was right there. Or I'm not sure the girl that vouched for me was black, but she said Clip didn't do any of that. I was watching. I keep it professional.
Yeah, she was trying to come up with a check, man. That's crazy, man. People are disgusting, bro.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, she was trying to get a quick come up, man.
Mm-hmm. I try not to analyze it too much. I just try to do the right thing and keep on moving.
Let me ask you this, since you brought it up earlier. You've been in countless movies over the years. Why is that? because it seems like some of the roles you do take on, you don't have to, take on roles.
I just do what I like. And if I like it, I do it. I make a living as an actor. I haven't had another job in 46 years, bro. I used to be a counselor. I was broke for 20 years. I have a lot of relationships. I just did a movie called Blowback. The guy met me, called one of my buddies who's a buddy of his, and they pay me handsomely. And I do it. If I like it, I do it. And if I don't like it, I don't do it. I don't necessarily just take it for the money. A lot of times when you're struggling and then you finally make it, and some of your people that got their people, you got to go in, man. And go in and get 10,000 for 2 days, or 10. I get 10,000 a day. That's good money. And I'm not Denzel Washington. I still make a lot of money, but I'm not Denzel Washington. I made it to the middle. The middle is a great place to be, but to make it to the top is a whole lot of other stuff that I'm not going to discuss on here. That comes with that I'm not willing to do. So I'm healthy, happy, and healthy in the middle. If I don't leave my house, I'll make 150,000 just from my pension, my wealth, my residuals, and my Social Security. So I'm good. I made it. I'm not bragging. I'm blessed. But I have a guy named Keith Neal that's in the middle, and he handles all the independent stuff. I never want to get to a place where my people can't reach me. And so I keep him in the middle. And then some stuff my agent brings, sometimes stuff my manager brings. I pay sometimes out 30%. My manager gets something, Keith will get something, or my agent will get something. I move, and I have so many relationships. So some people who helped you when you were young and starting out, like Ruben Cannon. Ruben calls me and it's not no crazy role, I'm gonna do it. Because Ruben is my guy. I say, hey, Clip, I only got 20,000 for the week. I charge 50,000 a week. But if it's Ruben, I'll do it, because Ruben hired me when I had nothing. So I'm just one of those kind of guys, and I don't let my agents tell me what I'm gonna do. That's just me. And I keep a street cat in the middle, because when you get to the top, people can't reach you. And I'm gonna tell you what Jamie Foxx said to me. He may not remember. He said, Cliff Powell, keep 1 foot in NIGGA. Now y'all figure that out. That means keep 1 foot with your people. And I'm always gonna be with the people, because African Americans and young white kids and young Asians and Latinos and women have made me a household name. I am a working actor. I'm a character actor. I'm not a movie star. Movie stars open movies. I don't open movies. I made it to the middle. The top is another whole set of stuff that you got to deal with on every level that I'm not willing to do. So, and they don't let strong kunta kinte like niggas like me get to the top. It just doesn't happen without some compromise. And I'm not willing to do that. But I never knew that. I just did the work, and I have great relationships. And I keep a cat in the middle so that if you can't get to my agents, because a lot of times when you get on my level, they can't get to you. And by the time your agent gets it, if it's not a certain amount of money, they're not going to do it. I lost a movie, and I give honor to my man, Will Packer. I did a movie when Will first started called The Gospel. Got 30,000 for the week. My agent at the time, and I'll say his name is Jeff Witches at APA. He called me and said, you're doing another one of those little black movies. I said, you're damn right. I got a family to feed. And I hung up the telephone on his ass, and then they let me go. What people don't understand is that when you're with APA and above, APA, Innovative, ICM, William Morris, you got to bring in $500 to $1 million a year just to stay there. It's all money. And they can't make money if you don't cross over. Well, I've crossed over just a bit, but not necessarily. I'm like the OJs. But black people are worth $1.6 trillion. The middle is a good place. And he hung up the phone. And then Will Packer just hired me in Fight Night, the #1 movie in Peacock history. I just got my first residual check. It was more than 25,000. So Will Packer put me on that movie. Will Packer called me again. I'm going to work with Will Packer. If my agents don't like it, I'm still going to do it. So people don't understand the inner workings of this business. When you with APA and above, they're ready for you to cross over. That's why Motown crossed Diana and all of them. First they was at the Apollo, then you got them at the big white clubs because they try to cross you over. But there's money in the black neighborhoods too. in the Latino and Asian community. And that's where I kind of landed. And I don't have no problems with it. I do well. I never thought in 1993, when I really started working, that I would make any money. So it's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey. Can I get another water?
I mean, 50K a week is pretty good, man.
But sometimes I don't charge that. I'm getting ready to go do a movie in DC, and I didn't charge 50,000 because I have a great relationship with the producers. So it's just, part of the reason why I have somebody in the middle is because when you get to a certain level, you're not connected to your people. And I don't never want to not be connected to Black people. I love everybody, but I want to love my people first. That's normal. That's just how I am. I don't know about anybody else. And I get a lot of flack. I mean, he's in every little ass movie. I don't really care what people think. I know what the relationships are. And then a lot of times I meet young guys like a guy like this guy. Or a young guy like you trying to do your first movie when you got to have a name, but you can't afford Denzel and you can't afford Lorenz. But you come through one of my partners who held me down when I had nothing. I didn't have a plan. Maybe if I had a better plan, I would pick and choose. But if I like it, I do it. I don't need an agent to tell me what to do. I read the script. I have the final say on all the deals. That's just what I do. And it happened by happenstance. Keith Neal, who's now a producer at Swirl Films, one of the biggest producers over there, he started out as security, and people start calling, trying to book me for jobs. And I'm like, how much they paying? They say, well, they gave me $20,000 for the week. I like, where? I'm going back. Let's go back to Detroit and get it. I like the script. I read it. I liked it. I'm doing it. It's a lot of moving parts, y'all. And I just found my way. I don't subscribe to everybody do it that way, but I don't let my agents tell me what I'm going to do. If I like it, I do it. Sometimes it's quirky stuff. Sometimes it's not the best quality. But a lot of these young producers, now that there's a streaming platform, they can't get to actors on my level and above. So I keep him in the middle and we figure out how to make the deals. I did something in Detroit years ago. This movie, I can't remember, but it was with this, I thought it was this guy's name, a rapper, or he's a personality, 50 the Great. And the young brother that came to me, he was at a conference and this guy stood up and he said, man, I don't watch nothing Cliff Powell does. All he does is little ass movies. He said, well, brother, I beg to differ. Mr. Powell came in and did my movie almost for no money. And that's why I'm here, help put me on the map. So, people are always going to criticize and say things, man, but I try to block that out because once you are in the public eye, you're going to be judged. And let me say this. A lot of times people judge you and they don't have the whole story. Like it's a nigga on IG that keeps running women are loose. Look at this guy running people. He doesn't even know the story behind the movie. I never read the script, you dumb I got to the set and I said, Ruben, I want to read this script. And then I said, I'm not touching that little girl. I would have never picked that movie for myself. So a lot of times people criticize and they don't have the information. This is the only business I know some people actually think you are the character, especially Black people. And I'm saying that specifically Black people. I was in a store a couple of weeks ago and he said, I don't want my kids to meet him because he don't do nothing but play and killing women in every movie. I'm like, dude, have you seen me play Martin Luther King? I just did a pastor last week on BMF. People got to do that research like you have. Do your research. I'm a character actor. De Niro and Pacino, Joe Pesci, they kill people in every movie. Oh, they're trained. I'm a trained actor and I should get the same respect that De Niro gets or Pacino gets or Joe Pesci or Morgan Freeman or any of those guys. We're trained actors. I'm a character actor. I don't kill people in real life. I'm not a gangster in real life. I've never been arrested, never been in trouble. I don't fight. I travel with security. And when I don't have security, I have my gun on me. Come on, man. It's time for people to do their research and give African-American actors their props. We are trained. Me, Sam, Denzel, Angela Bassett, Viola Davis. We are trained actors. Ving Rhames. We were all broke in 79. We are trained actors. And it's not real life. It's acting. And so we got to get past that. And you get criticized for what you drive, what kind of clothes you wear. It's a lot, bro. And I don't know how I handle it. I just try to keep it 100. They talk about you when you're poor, and they talk about who I was out the other day telling people about how embarrassed I was when I got my first little car. So I had to do another lecture. And I was so embarrassed. I called one of my friends. I said, I was afraid to go to my car because the car was so little and I had some girls behind me. I thought they'd talk about me. She said, welcome to Hollywood. So now I'm driving a Mazda when I first got down here because I'm coming off of being homeless and lost 10 million. People didn't know that. So now I got two cars, one for my girl and one for me. And I'm driving a nice Mazda. It's a nice car. I thought it was a nice car. This guy said to me in Atlantic Station, he said, damn, man, I thought you'd be driving something bigger than a damn Mazda. I said, my man, I said, I'm paying for two cars. I got $3,000 in car notes. Yeah, but I'm just saying, you a movie star. You got a little ass Mazda. So now I went and bought a $115,000 big ass Yukon XL. So I'm coming out the store, out of the watching the football game the other night. This guy say, yo, my man, why you in that big ass truck? Bro, you can't never win, especially with black people. I love black people, but I don't fuck with any IGGAs because they bring the race down, man. Stop that. I'm paying, my car note is $2,000. What is yours? And I got 3 cars, man. What are you talking about? It's just, I remember one time I was outside a club and this well-known actor, Malik Yorba's car came up. And this might have been a time he might have had his friends call or somebody, his antique car. This girl said, damn, all he driving is a little ass Bronco. I said, ma'am, you can't count that guy's money. She said, I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. Man, it's weird, bruh. I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. It is weird being in the limelight and being judged on everything you do without people having the information. And it's not just black folks, but I've gotten it from black folks more than white folks. And I don't care wherever I go, whether it's a basketball game, a concert, it's always one hater that want to fight me or get in my face. It's been a lot, bro, that we can't talk about. I'm just trying to educate the public, man. Entertainers are human beings. We play characters. I'm trained like the greats, and I take pride in my work. I do a lot of maybe B, C list work because they're friends of friends that held me down when I had no money, and I'm never going to forget any one of those people. It's easy to be cool when you got a lot of money, but it's hard when you broke and everybody is running away from you. You want to know how to get rid of somebody, give them some money. So I'm grateful to the people, Manny Haley, who hired me on music videos and gave me $1,500 back in the 1980s when I thought of $1,500 like $1 million when you're poor. So, you know, y'all got to fall back a little bit, man. And one, give us the credit for being trained. And two, stop with your comments. One guy came to my page, and this really happened. He came to my IG page, and I'm going to stop after this. He said, I don't watch shit Clifton Powell does. All he does is and beat women in movies. His mother is a bruh. When I say I let that nigga have it to a point where it almost got personal, and my girl is like, you can't do that. I say, I can say what the fuck I want to say. You come on my IG page talking, calling my mama. My mother committed suicide when I was 4 and they found her in the bottom of the Anacostia River. Don't you ever talk about my mama. It's real deep, bruh. It's real deep. And people are disrespectful. I'm telling y'all what really happened. I handled it. I let him have it. And if I say what I tell him back, and then I say, if you want to come see me, come see me. Because I got an army behind me. But there was a girl on IG that got into a thing. They came to her house and killed her, bro. So being an entertainer has a lot of wonderful perks. But there's also a dark side to it that can be creepy. And that's why I got off IG. People are like, why'd you get off IG? Well, I kept calling the black Trumpers. That's one reason they put me off, but they deserve that. But to the majority of African Americans, I was on my way to do something one day, and the lady, I says, a couple of people in there talking about me. I know them from the past. She said, Clifton, 93% of the people love you. It's always going to be that last 3 to 7% of people who just don't like anything you do. And you just have to learn how to live with that. I just have a problem when it becomes almost like one guy came up on me in New Orleans, and he wanted to fight me with a group of guys. And then I got stopped in the bathroom one time. This guy stopped me at the door with about 6 niggas in the bathroom. He said, yo, my man, what you giving back? And they was shooting dice and snorting cocaine. And I stood my ground, but I was scared, but they didn't know. But I would have, he said, yo, if you hadn't answered the question right, nigga, we would have killed you. That's personal, bro. And this is all the stuff y'all hearing, this ain't no stories. This is real life things that happen. How you come to somebody's page and call my mother that's you cross the line when you do that, man. If you don't like my work, if you don't know the history behind Women Aren't Loose and some of the roles I play, why don't you text me and ask me? But to come to my page and call my mother and that she does all kind of oral stuffs with a you can get killed for that. And that's how deep this gets when you're in the limelight, bro. And it's not that people can't get to you. That's scary. And I hope people understand out there, you haven't heard my story. This is just the beginning. I'm not even at the meat of it. I had a guy that wanted to fight me in New Orleans. And I was with a group of guys and they stepped back and damn near everybody pulled their guns out and said, Clifton Powell is an icon, my man. If you got a problem, you better solve it or we're going to make you disappear. It's not a joke. And that's why a lot of times entertainers live in a big house, don't talk to people, travel with security, then you become snooty. It's weird, bro. So it's always 3% of the people who may not like you. There's always somebody, male, female, black, white, Latino, Asian, that's a hater. But most of my haters have been black folks. Black, when I was in the mall, Lenox Mall one time, these girls like, ain't you from the movie? I couldn't get it out fast. Yeah, that's why we don't watch your old ass. I'm like, really? I'm telling y'all real stuff now. Y'all might say, Mr. Powell exaggerated. There's nothing I said today or this evening that's an exaggeration. Has happened to me. And you got to learn how to handle it or you'll end up in trouble. You know? And we're not going to get into Puffy. But Puffy's dad was a gangster. And you know, when you start mixing that the intimacy with the sex and power, it's hard to handle, man. And I'm not condoning anything he's done, but I understand it all. I was right there. I just had a wake-up call and I turned my life around. I had to get out of the fast lane. I hit rock bottom and I saw my life flash in front of me. And I haven't talked about that because I was on the move and I had to make a decision to change my life. I didn't do drugs, but I did enough drinking and gambling. And I used to travel, you know, I used to have a lot of women. I was famous and it's crazy and it's a lot to handle. And so I don't condemn anybody that's made it and fell off or made it and got back on and fell off again. As long as you don't stay down, you still in the game. So I'm blessed. I look at it all as a blessing because I had a period in my life where I had to look in the mirror and I thought I wasn't gonna make it. And I was like, I gotta make it. So that means I gotta bring it in, go find that discipline that I had in the early part of my career. And the only thing that saved me is I didn't do drugs. So this is not an easy journey, man. You know, and so we got to be kind to our entertainers of all colors, of all genders, and all races. We have to be kinder, and especially my people.
And I had no idea that your son, he dated Obama daughter.
Yeah, they dated for a little bit. They still good friends. You know, nothing like young love, you know. But he got a chance to meet Michelle and Obama, Mr. Obama, and Mrs. Obama, and they have a great friendship, you know, and they real cool. They still go out, and they still friends. And my son is a writer, he's living out in LA, so he's doing good. My little daughter is a nail technician, and she's building her business. She's an entrepreneur. So, you know, I'm proud of my babies. And I got 2 grandbabies.
Yeah, I know you made a comment about how it was a background check done on your son.
I'm so sure. I told him, whatever y'all argue, just don't put your hands on her. Because the Secret Service is going to come get both of us. And I'm not going. I'm telling you now. But I raised my son to be respectful, you know? And my daughter too. I don't tell my daughter, put your hands on men. I raised my kids tough to be respectful. That's how I am. Because, you know, when you're in love, man, it's emotional. I'm like, bro, whatever you do, walk away. That's it. That's all I can tell you because I can't save you from the CIA. So but they get along very well. They both get along very well. And he's very respectful. Man, you getting some stuff out of me I ain't never talked about before. Hey, now.
You're giving out a lot of gems, man. But I want to ask you about a comment you made about the Oscars. you made a comment about how winning an Oscar is like the kiss of death. What you mean by that?
It is, because you hit a ceiling and there's nowhere to go. So once you hit the top, the only place to go is down. Kevin Bacon said the best place to be in Hollywood is in the middle. Because what happens when you get an Oscar, if you don't follow that up with the hit, like I said, you got to bring in $1 million. If you don't hit, then you flop. And then they really hard on you. Hey, didn't so-and-so win the Oscar? What happened? He fell off. It's hard. So you got to be careful. And then because you get pigeonholed. You at the top, your price has gone skyrocketed. You can't jump down and just do TV because your agents ain't going to take that deal. So now you worth 20 million a picture. Now somebody offer you a TV series, they're only going to give you 10 million. You can't take, your agent's not going to take that. So it's a false bottom. And I'm not saying it happens to every actor, but if you do your research after the Oscar, a lot of people just kind of fall off.
You and Spike Lee, what's the issue between both of y'all? And how you feel about his new movie with Denzel that came out?
I am not going to comment about Spike Lee. I said what I said, and I stand by what I said. Go read about it. And a lot of y'all don't have the facts. But if you go research and ask some actors the kind of business that he did, you'll be able to make a determination for yourself. I think him and Denzel working together are amazing. It's certain things that African-American producers do or white producers do that I'm never going to agree with. And I got a lot of flack for it. I don't dislike Spike Lee. I dislike some of his business practices. And people can think about me with one guy called in and say, you old C-list ass actor talking about Spike. The problem is people talk a lot of stuff and don't do their research. I do my research. And I'm never going to accept a black man doing to us what the man has been doing for the last 70,000 years. And so go do your research. Listen to what Charles Dutton said. He said Clifton Powell wasn't wrong. He knows. And so all I'll say is go read what I said and I stand by it. And I never threatened him, but I don't appreciate how he did business with us back in the day. Not me, but my friends, because I've never worked with him. But just do your research. Black folks, do your research before you comment and condemn somebody. You know, we got to be better than the man to each other. I know y'all understand that. I respect Tyler Perry. I went to him and I said, you know, the things I said about Spike. I think we all, as African-American entertainers, and if the shoe fits wear it, we got to be careful condemning each other in public. And I said it about Spike because he said something about Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry used to live in his truck and be in his car and be homeless. I don't know how much you can, I mean, I heard stuff. I've never had a negative thing. I've met Tyler. I can't vouch for anything he has or hasn't done, but I know he used to be homeless. I've been homeless 4 times. It ain't no good feeling. But we got to call him and tell him what you feel. If I had Spike's number, I should have called him. I was just playing around. I was in the studio. I was playing around, making a joke, and then it went viral. But I don't respect his business policies. But I should have called him and told him that. Or I should have saw him out and pulled him aside. So I learned something from that. But we got to be kinder. And then we got to be careful, because if, as producers and creators, we got to be careful crossing lines. It's a lot of moving parts, y'all. And all I can say is I try to do the best I can. I'm not here to condemn anyone, but we got to support each other in public, and we have some grievances. Let's sit down, have dinner, and talk about it. So if Spike ever wanted to sit down and have dinner with me, I'd tell him exactly how I feel. And maybe as a Pisces, like I am, he might take it in and try to do better. We got to do better business with each other than the man has ever done business with us. And everybody can decipher what I mean. But go back and do your research on anything I've said. God bless everybody. Thank you for watching all those movies. Make sure y'all see a new piece coming out called Deb is Boss. The Deb Auntie story. That's Waka Flocka's mom with Little Mama, Lisa Ray, and myself. It's an amazing piece. Go check me out on BMF as a pastor a couple of weeks ago. God bless y'all. Got some good stuff coming. This has been wonderful, my brother. I gotta go, man. I can't do a Ray Charles like a Jamie Foxx dinner, man, but hey, baby. That's cool. I'm out.